Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Island Bright Spot series, where we do shed a spotlight on sustainable practices on islands to reduce economic activity impacts. My name is Jabal Hassan Ali. I represent the Global Island Partnership, GLISPA, and I will be your host for the evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. So welcome, everyone. I think we will have a really great session today, and looking forward to it. Next slide, please. Okay, so in this episode, we will explore how islands are reducing the negative impacts of economic activities on their territories by employing new, innovative, sustainable practices across a variety of sectors. And just to give a general idea of what the Bright Spot series is about, GLISPA Bright Spots are concepts that are ready to be scaled, that showcase successful solutions to island resilience and sustainability resulting from community partnership. They exemplify how together we can build on what is working to conserve and sustainably utilize our invaluable natural resources. Put simply, they are inspired solutions, island solutions in action. So this is the fourth episode since we started the series last year. We do it jointly with the Jeff Small Grants Program, who has been supporting us from the very beginning. It's been growing from strength to strength. And recently we've been collaborating with other organizations just to make it bigger. So it's been a really, really nice way to show what islands are doing and how we are contributing on the front lines of the climate crisis. I just want to pass the mic now to my co-host for the evening, Ms. Celine Damery. She's from Conservatoire du Littoral, who is our co-organizer for this event, the special event, and will speak a little bit about what they do and Island Coast Ocean Solutions. Celine?
Thanks a lot, Jabal, and thank you everyone for being with us today. For sure, for us, we see a great opportunity to join the GLISPA initiative of a Bright Spot. GLISPA is a long partner of the Conservatoire du Littoral, and we see an interest to connect our joint activities, either on one side the Bright Spot, and also two initiatives that the Conservatoire du Littoral has been sheltering since a few years now. The first one is the ICO event, which is a kind of initiative led by the Conservatoire du Littoral, but also the French Water Agency for Rhône, Corsica, and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Aix-Marseille Provence, which work on several topics, working for a better conservation of island coasts and oceans, and gathering people coming from different sectors, either institutions, either experts, NGOs, and private companies. So to share our respective issues and our respective solutions for a better conservation of these territories. And the last initiative is also Celebrate Island. Today, we have been celebrating the 9th anniversary of Celebrate Island, which is an international event that the Conservatoire is hosting since a few years with the SMILO, Small Island Organization, and PIM Initiative for Mediterranean Small Islands. It is an important event for us regarding the involvement of island stakeholders in order to share our respective good practices. And also, since 2 years, we have been launching a contest at the occasion of Celebrate Islands, a video contest aiming to support this year 7 projects. And one of the topics of the contest was reducing the impact of economic activities, because we truly think that linking the biodiversity conservation stakeholders and the economic operators is the key to preserve altogether for a better insular environment. So I will be your co-host today, as Jabal said, and I give him the floor for the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Celine. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, and just to recap, these are the hosts, myself and Celine, and also I just want to shout out our back room staff who makes all the magic happens behind the scenes on Zoom. Cyrielle from PIM Initiative and Paula Lewis. We are also supported by the interpreters, can't forget about them. So thank you very much for the work you do, and all our panelists. All right, moving on to the agenda. So We have this webinar split up into 3 sessions. The first session will focus on reducing tourism waste production, where we'll have 3 initiatives from Spain, Indonesia, and Hawaii. And they'll talk about how we could develop new products and activities to reduce the pressure on the territory and the production of waste, for example, and also just how we can reimagine tourism from an extractive industry to something that's more sustainable and regenerative. The format of each session is that we'll have each of the presenters present for 5 minutes, and then after they have all presented, we have a Q&A for questions. And you can use the Q&A function to submit your questions. In the meantime, also, please, you can submit in the chat as well. We have persons monitoring the chat. And please feel free to shout out where you're from, where you're representing. Try to make the chat as interactive and lively as possible. Send in your comments, not only questions, your feedback, what do you think about these different, because these are some amazing ideas you're about to see. And I think the panelists themselves will appreciate any feedback you may have going forward as they present. In the second session, we'll highlight local resources and knowledge, particularly traditional knowledge. We have 3 initiatives from Hawaii, Greece, and Solomon Islands that developed initiatives based on and highlight local resources and knowledge. Same format. And then in the third session, we talk about new products and activities. And we have 3 initiatives from Tunisia, Morocco, and Europe that implemented initiatives to reduce plastic waste production by tourism actors. So that's the general agenda. We're going to go straight into the first session now. Oh yes, I already went through this, but just a few housekeeping rules. You can ask your questions through the question box. If you need interpretation, please choose the interpretation channel below. And we have English and French available. One of our speakers will be presenting in French. So when that happens, you can switch to the English translation. And for those who are French speaking, you can change the French translation while we speak in English. And then finally, just a note to our panelists, please keep yourself on mute when you are not speaking. Everyone is being viewed right now. Okay, so first session, reducing tourism impacts on the environment. And I will be joined by Ahmad Imam. He represents the Maratua Peduli Lingkungan, and he's from the Maratua Islands in Indonesia. And he's going to talk to you a bit about recycling organic waste into souvenirs and eco bricks using, I know it doesn't sound the best, but he's using maggots. But don't be afraid, this is really cool and interesting and really unique. And I think it's something that can be replicated in many other island contexts where to get those mass waste, where it's difficult to have waste treatment plants on such a small scale. These are unique ways to get around that problem in small islands. So Imam, please take it away.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jabal. Hello, everyone. Good evening from Indonesia. My name is Imam from Maratua Peduli Lingkungan. Today, I would like to present about how we reduce the negative impact of economic activities on our island. Maratua Island is Borneo, Indonesia. Next. Yes, recycling of organic waste or bio-waste is still limited in our island. Even the organic and inorganic waste from restaurant, homestay, and resort is only collected in one place on Maratua Island. So Maratua Peduli Lingkungan took the initiative to recycle organic and inorganic waste from homestay and restaurant in Maratua Island. We carried out the bio-waste conversion process using the maggot from like soldier fly. Meanwhile, we recycle the inorganic waste into souvenirs and eco brick. So we educate the local community and the children in our island how to create a good waste management in our island. Next. Yes, maggot from the black soldier fly is larva that will metamorph to fly. And maggot cultivation highly contributes to the reduction of organic waste, since 1 kilogram of maggots can eat 2 kilogram up to 5 kilogram of organic waste per day. And we will cooperate with a restaurant and homestay in Maratua Island to process the organic waste using this maggot. And this is the example of our building. We built this building for create a good waste management in our island. So maggot cultivation is profitable since the cultivation process is easy and has a high market demand, because the protein contained in maggot is good for animal feed. Multiple maggot cultivation can be a strategy to reduce the organic waste naturally. And this is why we use maggot cultivation to improve the waste management in our island. Next. Yeah, now we create a small scale of the waste management in our island, but if it is produced on an industrial scale, certainly organic waste in Maratua Island, which is their food, will be reduced. And yeah, our island has a lot of beautiful places, diving spot, and a lot of beautiful animals like sea turtle, shark whale, manta, and yeah, but the biggest problem in our island is the waste management. So Maratua Peduli Lingkungan will work with the restaurant and homestay to reduce waste production in increasing ecotourism and safe sea turtle feeding ground in Maratua Island. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much. Back to you, Abal.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really great. There was a technical issue with the chat box before, but I believe it's open now. So any comments or anything you want to say about that great presentation, please feel free to fire away or ask your questions in the question box. But we move right along to the next presenter, who is Marta Perez Lopez. She was born in Barcelona. She has a degree in environmental science and a long career in environmental and tourism consultancy in the Balearic Islands, especially in Menorca, where she has lived since 2009. Now she coordinates the Menorca Without Plastic Alliance, which is a plastic-free alliance made up of local entities that unite to achieve a plastic-free island. Marta, please feel free to take the floor.
Hello to everybody. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for inviting Plastic Free Menorca to this webinar. It is a pleasure for us to be sharing experience with all of you. Next, please. Plastic Free Menorca was created in 2020 by Menorca Preservation to unite the knowledge, efforts, and enthusiasm of local entities that in one way or another were collaborating in the fight against plastic pollution. In these almost 2 years of Plastic Free Menorca, we have managed to work on the following projects: Plastic Free Balearics and Plastic Free Menorca commitment to companies that will be the one I will explain below. Pescar Menorca, a project to give a new life to discard fishing nets. Moving towards zero plastic in Menorca, a project to introduce best practices to citizens through the proposal of challenges in an app. Plastic Free Visitor, a public water fountain and a pilot phase to DREs for highly demanded tourist products like beach umbrellas or beach games. Waste management training for the hospitality and agricultural sector, and an action plan for the reduction of plastic in Menorca 2030. Next, please. In 2019, the Balearic Islands was a pioneer in Spain in transposing the new European directives and approved its law on waste and contaminated soils. The law posed a set of pioneering measures, for example, relevant changes in waste management, restrictions on single-use plastic products, or the promotion of composting or preparation for reuse, in order to minimize the impact of waste on the environment and promote a circular economy in the Balearic Islands. For us, particularly, it was the interest the following aspects of the law: single-use utensils, regardless of the material they are made of, may not be used for the consumption of food and drinks in the establishments. Food products in single-use format cannot be used within the establishment. Limitation on plastic bags, water packaging prevention, and management of commercial or industrial packaging. Next, please. The first certification we worked on was Plastic Free Balearics, an initiative of Ibiza Preservation from Ibiza and Formentera Island and Save the Med from Mallorca, with funding from BMed. These islands had already stored plastic-free certifications and decided to unite them into a common one for all the islands. In Menorca, there was no certification, so we decided to join the initiative. The project has lasted 18 months and ended last April. In Menorca, 20 establishments were certified, and thanks to BMed, we have been able to add 10 more companies until September 2022. Another certification initiative from us is Plastic Free Menorca Commitment to respond to the rest of the economic activities. So far, we have certified 2, an art gallery and a dive center. We are in the process of certifying 3 more. Next. After the work carried with the visits, verifications, consultations, etc. of Plastic Free Balearics, we have found, after a few months of banning the single doses, they were permitted for a short period of time for COVID reasons. They are still in use, for example, ketchup, mayonnaise. These are single-use products that are still used despite being banned, such as straw. We find a lot, almost everybody is still using straws, and it's provided by the law. The law allows the use of some single-use products as long as they are certified according to the UNE 13432 international normative, but most of the products observed do not indicate that this is the case. Small businesses are unaware of the law and therefore of their obligations. And there are suppliers who are offering products prohibited by law. With the plastic-free commitment, we have found mainly that businesses are unaware of the law and therefore of their obligations. Next, please. So with the experience that we are carrying through visits and contacts with companies on the island, we are trying to help by carrying the following task: seek suppliers and alternatives to plastic products, help the companies to understand the regulatory requirements, training employers and employees, help companies to analyze their current plastic waste situation and to commit to a plastic reduction policy, and propose alternatives in the detected products that do not comply with the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta. And what I really love about these first 2 presentations, it's islanders taking initiatives into their own hand. They see a problem. Sometimes a lot of it is not of their own making. It's the result of over-tourism and people bringing problems as a result of over-tourism and having to seek unique solutions to solve this problem instead of waiting to be bailed out. And that's what the whole idea of Bright Spots is about, to highlight these awesome efforts by these heroes on the ground. And now we're moving to the 3rd presentation, which I think is sort of the first 2 sort of treats the symptoms of this bigger problem. And now we have someone from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, Ilihia, who is a public affairs officer for the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and seeing this larger problem of unsustainable tourism and trying to attack the problem at the base. And unfortunately, Ilya could not be here with us today, but he sent in a pre-recorded video, and I think it's awesome. So without further ado, please play the video.
Aloha nui kako, greetings from Hawaii. My name is Ilihia Johnson. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the Hawaii Tourism Authority. So happy to be joining you virtually at episode 4 of the Island Bright Spot series. I want to thank GLISPA and all of the partners who organized today's event for inviting us to share briefly about the work we're doing in Hawaii. Explores the idea that it's not all about reducing the adverse impacts of economic activity, but rather, how can we ensure that there's positive impacts? That we go from extractive to sustainable to regenerative forms of economic activity. It's required a big mind shift in our work. Certainly there's a long road to go, but we're so grateful for the opportunity to be working with our partners in the community and in the visitor industry to make that shift. I wanted to first start this morning by sharing a prophecy of transformative change. This was several centuries ago that a prophet, an advisor to our royals, spoke these words among others: "E hui ana nā moku, the islands will unite. E ku ana kapaya, the walls will stand upright." And so it's really an honor to be addressing my fellow islanders here in this gathering. You know, in the year 2019, Hawaii saw 10.4 million visitors, which is really something when you consider that there are about 1.5 million people who call Hawaii home. And in that year, those visitors accounted for $17.7 billion in expenditures and tax revenues enough to pay for our public school system. And when the global pandemic hit and the economic collapse began, there were certainly challenges associated with that, but there were also benefits to our natural resources. There were some benefits to our community that caused everyone to wonder, is there a better way forward? What is the balance between economic activity and caring for our community, caring for our natural resources, caring for our culture? Some elders of mine talk about water's capacity to be a destructive force if there's too much, water's capacity to be critical need when there's not enough, and when there's just the right amount. There's just the right amount of water when it's managed properly, when it's channelized properly. Water can be a force that grows our food and makes life possible. Funny enough, in Hawaiian, the word for water is vai. The water for wealth and prosperity and abundance is vai vai. And so we set out to channelize the waters of our economic activity by adopting a new strategic plan that prioritizes not only the visitor industry, but side by side prioritizes natural resources, Hawaiian culture, community well-being, as well as representing the Hawaii brand around the world. We do all of this in conjunction with our community. We've heard their voices, we've taken their input and put them into destination management action plans. All of this with the goal of moving toward regenerative tourism that can give back more than it takes, that leaves a place better than when a visitor first arrived. We work very closely with many of the members of the local 2030 Islands Network, our friends at GLISPA, and our friends at Hawaii Green Growth, which is Hawaii's local 2030 Islands hub. Advancing the SDGs is part of what we do every day. We're very conscious of it. The Aloha Plus Challenge, which is our local framework for implementing the SDGs, is written into our strategic plan and something that we, again, work toward every day. Regenerative tourism seeks to balance the economics of tourism with the well-being of our communities and natural resources. Without those, what is the base of our economic activity? But more importantly, what is the base of life as islanders? Our current message to the world is to Malama Hawaii. We embrace malama, this value of caring, of stewardship, of protecting that which we love. We've embraced that as our branding message to the world. And we do all of this for the generations below us, the generations yet to come. Because the Hawaii that we leave today is their inheritance. As the father of a 4-year-old myself, I'm very conscious at this point as we work toward this ideal of malama ku'uhome, or caring for our beloved home. There's some links up on the screen. HawaiiTourismAuthority.org is where you can find all of our documents. The strategic plan that I mentioned, our destination management action plans that take that to the community on the ground level. I've also left my email here. Please email me at any time. I'd be happy to connect. We always love hearing from our fellow islanders around the world, and we look forward to how we can work together to malama ku'uhome, care for our beloved home on my island, your island, and our island Earth. Mahalo nui, aloha.
Thank you, Elihio. Well, Elihio unfortunately is not here live to take your questions, but he left his email, and I believe we will put that into the chat. So if you have questions for him later on, you could shoot him a message by email. But Marta and Imam is here, and so we can move directly into the Q&A session. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host Celine, who will be moderating this part. Celine?
Yes, thank you. And I see in the chat that there is 2 questions for Ahmad for the moment, 2 questions for Marta. So don't hesitate if you have still some questions coming to our mind to write it in the chat. So first question to Ahmad from Mr. Thomas Walter, which seems to be from Germany. He told that, what do you go for the maggots? Because in other countries, like in Germany, the food waste from restaurants are collected and directly given to feed pigs, in fact. So why did you choose to go through the maggots and not to choose to use domestic animals? I'm sorry, Ahmad, I think your connection is not very good. I don't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, yeah, why we choose the maggot? Because yeah, we think maggot is easy to use, and yeah, it's priceless. But the final of the maggot, we can use it for the animal feeding. So yeah, but the first point is because the maggot is easy to use in our island and easy to find the maggot.
Okay, thanks a lot. And to continue with you, we had another question from Mr. Luke Zorilla, who was very curious to have any numbers about the impact of your activities, the quantity of organic waste and inorganic waste that you use on one side for the maggots, on the other side for the souvenirs and eco bricks. Hoping that you have these kind of figures in mind.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Mr. Luke Zorilla was asking if you had any numbers about the impact of your activities. For example, the quantity of waste, either organic and inorganic, that you were using on one side for the maggots and on the other side for the bricks and the souvenirs, and also the impact of this, on the local community.
Yeah. For example, when we use the maggot in our island, the maggot can, from the 1 kilogram of the maggot, they can eat 2 kilogram to 5 kilogram of the organic waste. So we can use this for the waste management in our island. So I think this will useful to improve our waste management in our island. So about the inorganic waste, yeah, we use the inorganic waste into eco brick. So we use the eco brick to create, for example, like table or chair using the plastic from the eco brick, so it can decrease the waste production in our island. That's all.
Thanks a lot for your answer. I don't know if some of you have other questions to Ahmad. Don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Marta, I have also several questions for you. Are there some kind of stakeholders that have been, with whom it has been very difficult to involve? For example, between the restaurants, the dining centers, of other touristic operators. What is your feeling about that?
About the implementation of the law.
Yes, and also all the trainings that you have been doing, all the
we didn't. We do not start with the training. We are starting right now because we didn't have the funds to do it, but we will start after August because now we are in the high season, tourist season, and nobody wants to any training, and it's really busy to this year here in Menorca. A lot of people is coming to the island, and what we see is from the restaurants, the law is they are not implementing the law. As you can see, and you can see, you go to a restaurant and you have a straw and you have the single dose, and I mean, it's like, I don't know if you don't know the law or you don't want to implement the law, and we don't know exactly, because the companies that are in our certification in plastic-free Balearics, they are interested in sustainability, so they have a really good practices. So, for example, this certification can range from 1 star to 5 stars. So 5 star is the top, and almost the 20 companies has 4 stars. So these companies are sensible to sustainability. But when you go to a restaurant, you see that almost all the restaurants or hotels as well, if they have like food service, they are not implementing the law. And with the other activities, we see that they don't know what are the requirements, legal requirements. So you have to inform that, you know, that you have to manage your danger waste. Oh, no, I don't know. So you have to inform them because they don't know.
Okay, thanks a lot. I have another question for you from Mr. Moses Arinightway. I'm sorry if I misspelled the name. Why was it necessary to certify some companies? I think he's talking about the Plastic-Free Menorca project. You were talking to certify some companies. Some of them were in process.
Yeah, with the commitment, yeah, we have some in process, and in that case, they have to have all the law requirements approved. And one of the interesting things to this to work with the commitment is that we encourage to the business to analyze their situation about plastic and be able to make a commitment. So every company feel free to do this commitment. And this is really nice because you see that each can contribute to the plastic fight in one way, no? And we are working, and they need a lot of information to know how exactly is the good practices with the waste management. So this is what they have to do: a policy reduction of plastic, and they have to all the laws that have to be in the company.
Okay, and one last question for you too. What have been the alternative used to replace all the single-use items? Does it include the compostables? It's a question from Mr. Risa Hidu.
Yeah, the law is permitted the compostable products, but they need the UNE 30,432. But so we are agree with this. With plastic-free Balearics, one thing that is not in the law, but we are not permitting, is the bioplastics. So if we see that a company is changing a plastic for a bioplastic, we are not giving them the plastic-free Balearics certification. I think
Okay.
that I answered.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry, my English. I will like to do it in Spanish, is more easy, but
no worries.
I try to do my best.
Okay. But it's true that the single-use items is a very crucial point for most of the islands. And for example, in the south of France, in the island of Porquerolles, we have been using a typical vegetation from Provence region in order to produce the stripes, the forks, the knives. And so I think it's a good solution to think about circular economy and create some new items, and coming from local is very good. And now all the restaurants of the island of Porquerolles are using this kind of items.
So interesting.
Yeah.
We need to talk.
You need to talk together,
Yeah.
sure. And I see no more question in the chat. So I don't know, Jabal, if you on your side, you have also some questions to ask to the speakers, or if we follow to the next session.
I think we can move on to the next session. I think they were very comprehensive in their answers and in their presentations themselves. So I think everyone is clearly understands what's going on. So moving right along to our second session, which is about highlighting local resources and knowledge, I want to introduce Christina Saris. I hope you all have had your breakfast or your lunch or dinner before joining this webinar, because her presentation is a gastronomic delight. You're gonna enjoy it in that way. It's about the Asian Cuisine Initiative. Christina is a senior marketing professional with extensive experience in all areas of communications. And for the last 4 years, she is working as a management advisor of communications in the Cyclidic Development Association of the Cyclades Chamber of Commerce. During these years, she monitors and analyzes social and economic trends in order to suggest relevant strategies to the board of directors. She supervises a plethora of programs promoting gastronomic tourism and premium cruises development, and develops relationships and cooperates with local and national institutions as well as multiple stakeholders. She has studied political science and holds a master's degree in marketing. Celine, the floor is yours.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Christina, sorry.
Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you also for your support and effort to organize this kind of webinar. We are talking from Cyclades, one of the most popular destinations from all over the world. Is a region of 24 islands in the Aegean Sea, having as a main characteristic the food culture, which derives from the authenticity and the quality of the product, as well as the wellness of the gastronomy. I'm representing the Chamber of Commerce, the Cyclades Chamber of Commerce, and its, let's say, development association. And both of them represent and working for their members, small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses. 20,000 are the members from all over the Cyclades, from the 24 islands. We carry out many initiatives and actions in order to support our business community, and one of them is the initiative of Aegean Cuisine. As you maybe know, a lot of travelers today, but in the past also, they choose their destination mainly on culture, and gastronomy. And this is an important criterion for the visitors in Cyclades. Half of the visitors in Cyclades choose the islands because of the local gastronomy and the authenticity of the products. So consumers, especially after the pandemic, as always prefer traditional local foods, healthy foods, and consider that this kind of, let's say, food are of higher quality. The objective behind this initiative, the Aegean Cuisine Initiative, is to offer a superior, aesthetic culinary experience to our visitors through the Aegean Cuisine Network, a network that is continuously evolving in order to enhance the appreciation of the visitors for the gastronomy, as well as the preference for our local products. Our vision, not only as a chamber of commerce, but also as a development association, is our travelers to become, in Cyclades, to become the ambassadors of our culinary culture. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Aegean Cuisine Network has certified members of restaurants and producers. We have carried out many actions aiming to create synergies among local producers and local restaurants and to increase their business and their quality, offer to our visitors the original Aegean Sea experience and the wealth of local gastronomy, and also to promote the authenticity and quality of local products, which is a result of a thematic tourism to our islands. Next slide, please. Thank you. After 10 years of working on this project, we have, let's say, managed to have 190 restaurants from all over the Cyclades, from the 24 islands, awarded with the Aegean Cuisine sign, and also a list of 387 products of 81 local producers awarded again as the Aegean Cuisine recommended signs. This award derives from high quality standards that we have worked together with TUV Hellas, also with a great team of gastronomy experts from Greece. And the main categories of the products are coming from daily products, mostly wine, honey products, pastry, herbs, olive oils, etc. Next slide, please. Thank you. The key motivating factor to become, for a business, to become a member of the Aegean Cuisine is the benefits that derive from this initiative. For example, the Aegean Cuisine has a strong brand name with quality values, not only for the products, but also from the services from the restaurant. Also, the strategic synergies is another key motivating factor, since allows cooperative action and also to support a healthy competitiveness amongst the restaurants and amongst the producers. Also, the extroversion and the entrance in the new markets is another motivation for them to promote the Aegean Cuisine Islands overall as a travel destination due to this richness in gastronomy culture, and of course to offer new working opportunities, especially for young people, to familiarize the business community with new technologies in terms of the developing of products and in restaurants, and also to develop initiatives about the product and the services in order to further enhance their quality. Next slide, please. Thank you. As I said before, the Aegean Cuisine Network is a network that is continuously evolving year by year in order to further enhance this network. And also at this stage, we are seeking and we are investigating through new ways in order to funding this initiative even more, because we want to further establish the awareness of the brand name Aegean Cuisine. And further, which means if we enhance the awareness of the Aegean cuisine, we enhance also the local business that they are using the sign of Aegean cuisine, and also to invest behind a 360, a holistic communication approach, able to promote further the network. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. That was great. We like to say in the Caribbean, we like our belly, and I definitely can't wait to visit Cyclades and the Aegean Islands one day to try the amazing cuisine. And this is such a great initiative in terms of
Excuse
organizing.
me, also I would like to introduce Mrs. Stefania Papacosta. She's head of communication, and we are working together on the initiative. Stefania's head of communication is responsible to promote this network, so she will with me to support and to help me in the questions in the next stage. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you both. And I'm sure there'll be many questions coming your way soon. Moving on to our next speaker, Joshua Cooper. Joshua is an academic, advocate, an author, an analyst, and an activist based in Hawaii. He is the executive director of the Hawaii Institute for Human Rights. And he's here to talk to you a little bit today about the inaugural, and please forgive me if I butcher this, Joshua, Kaiolia Ho'okipa Cohort Impact Studio. So please, Joshua.
Aloha, kakakeaka. Aloha, o Joshua Cooper, ko'inoa, no Hawaii mai au. Aloha, I'm Joshua Cooper from Hawaii. It's an honor to be with all of you today. Today we'll be discussing understanding Hawaii through understanding action to achieve the 23rd Agenda and the Paris Agreement in Hawaii, reimagining our relationship with nature. And what we were doing was really putting into practice the concept that was shared earlier by my colleague from the Hawaii Tourism Authority of really putting Malama Aina into action. And what we're able to come up with was there's a mountain that's very sacred to the people of Hawaii, but also a major tourism place that people come to, and that is Leahi. And Leahi is also known as the Ring of Fire is its name, but also it's known as Diamond Head by the colonial settlers who come because they thought they saw diamonds, because that's always what you see when you're looking for money. But what's more beautiful, of course, in Hawaii is its natural beauty. And so as you can see with the photos that we have there, we decided to come up, even with COVID, to host outdoor discussions and dialogue connected with direct action. And the idea there was providing place-based education and positive possibilities of engagement for all to be informed and to make a positive impact on where they come. Our focus is two things: regenerative rights and transformative tourism. We don't want people to come and just take resources and extract, but actually to have a genuine exchange. And we have this beautiful park that we've been taking care of now for 20 years. It began with a World Youth Congress. And what we have done then is it has two parts. And you can see the pohaku or rocks up there. And with that, we then had people be able to come. And in the top part, we share about all of the plants and how all the plants can sort of be used to be able to do that. And we show how every plant has a purpose. So one tree is the first surfboards. One plant is actually the cotton that, of course, we all have clothes on that we're wearing. The other plants are actually medicinal and so forth. So we show them that everything there has a purpose. Also, the lauhala has a little bit of pines on it, but once you devein it, it's what they make the beautiful hats for Hawaii, as well as the mats that people sit on when they come to visit. So that's the first part, sharing all about Hawaii and how everything has a purpose, and to give back. We talk about kuleana, or responsibility. The second part, though, is everything on human rights, from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, so that people understand that they're actually in an indigenous nation and that they have to respect the host culture. And of course, the other aspect, though, is the major international treaties that exist, the Paris Agreement, the guiding principles on business and human rights, and also the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And what we're able to do then is have students, as you can see in the photos, actually come and participate, but more importantly, be the educators. So they go from being actually the student in the classroom to the leader in the community. We're mobilizing to actually make this a process where it can be entrepreneurial, where when they teach the classes, they're then able to, of course, use that also as their experience. And it's a great way, of course, to change the dynamics of tourism, of one of us being there to serve, to one of us being there as the knowledge holders that demand respect, and more importantly, really have a genuine partnership. We also point out with the SDGs and the Paris Agreement that when they go home, it might not be Hawaii or beautiful Greece, but they can also take care of where they live and learn about these human rights and put them into practice. So we have 6 facilitators, and we organize every Saturday a different course that covers each one of those different instruments. And then now we're also expanding to Friday night films. So that's exciting for people to be able to do that. And then the next part is for the people just of Hawaii, that we have people coming every Sunday and we talk and discuss how we can utilize this space better. And it's a Hawaiian dryland native forest right there on the slopes of Leahi or Diamond Head. And the main thing we're doing is, with COVID, it was a chance to make sure that we could reset everything. Because before then, just millions arrived and everybody tells you that's the way it is. But with COVID, it was days in Waikiki without anyone but us. And we decided then, how do we want to manage this space, to malama it and make sure that it's a regenerative rights and a transformative tourism model where we're actually controlling how things are being done and sharing the knowledge and networking. And the exciting part is when people return, they also plant plants, and then we show them how their plant is doing and how that plant will be used in the future. So it's been an exciting process so far to really work with Kanaka Maoli cosmology and culture. And we look forward to continue, but we want to respect the time and enjoy hearing everyone else's presentation. Mahalo. Ohuyo.
Mahalo, Joshua. Thank you. That was great. And we didn't actually plan it this way, but I think it worked out really well that Evie here spoke about those principles, and then for you to come in and like show how it's actually being implemented in action at the local grassroots level. And that was an amazing full circle. So thank you for sharing. Our next speaker, unfortunately, is not with us. I think he's having some internet connection issues. His name is Wilson. He's from the Solomon Islands. He's one of our GLISPA fellows, and he had a really, really good presentation for you about indigenous techniques for biodiversity conservation and climate adaptation. But unfortunately, he's unable to present today. We will try to get him for our next Bright Spots event in the future, and also feature some more of our Bright Spot fellows. We have 10 in this inaugural edition. It's an initiative we started in April. But yeah, apologies for Wilson not being able to make it today. But it does mean we have more time for questions and discussion for our 2 speakers in this session. Sadine, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. My first question will be for Christina for the iGen initiative. I was wondering if you have some criteria regarding the selection of the restaurants or the producers that you promote and that you labelize to be part of this initiative, and notably regarding the sustainability of the produce, the offer that they're proposing. Maybe you want me to repeat the question? Yes. I was wondering if you have some specific criteria regarding the restaurants and the producers which are working with you in your initiative, and notably regarding the sustainability, the fact that they have, for example, an ecological process in the way they exploit, they develop a produce or they realize the cooking, for example. So do you have some specific criteria before they are part of the initiative?
The Aegean cuisine is sustainable and has this sustainability element in its DNA because derives from the ancient Greeks and the old times, and how the people in Cyclades used to live and used to consume products, and how they let's say cook their products, because Aegean cuisine is based of no waste philosophy. So the sustainability element it's on the DNA of this cuisine. Also, we have carried out educational programs in order, let's say, to transfer the new trend in the restaurant owners and the producers of how to work with the sustainability, let's say, guidelines, and keep it during the production or during the cooking, and having these procedures in mind. That's why, let's say, but the most important is to understand that it's in Cyclades, people used to cook with no waste philosophy from the ancient times, of course, not nowadays, which is very popular.
Well noted, thank you. Yes, I think it is important that the people are still have this in their DNA, as you were saying, to operate not to operate a direct change of mind, but is there at the same time regarding all the restaurants and producers which are part of the initiative, is some of them were for the moment a bit looking after the initiative? Does some of them still change their way of acting, their philosophy, and to be engaged in this process?
Exactly, and you have also to take into consideration, especially for the producers, the products that they produce are based on the biological agricultural, let's say, way of growth. The majority of the products that belong to the Aegean Cuisine Network and are awarded as Aegean Cuisine recommended products follow the biocultural way of growth.
I have a question just arriving in the chat for you. How the initiative is welcomed by the tourists? Do you have a way to measure this this kind of thing? How can the tourists consult the list of restaurants that are part of your initiative? Because, for example, the participant is telling us, like in some islands, like in Santorini, for example, there is a great number of sushi, Mexican, not Asian food. And so how do you promote really all this list of restaurants? Your mic is off, sorry.
We are using actually, we are using our social media in order, let's say, to promote the restaurants that belong to the Aegean Cuisine Network. And social media, our own social media, and special pages with the Aegean Cuisine sign. We have to take into consideration that the most popular islands like Mykonos and Santorini accept every year millions of visitors with different socio-economical culture. Some of them are very people, new rich, let's say, and they are seeking for gastronomy that has to do with sushi or new age cuisine, etc. On the other side, and fortunately for us, frankly speaking, there is a majority of our visitors, almost half of them every year, that they are seeking and searching to find the authenticity of Cyclades gastronomy. So can you imagine so many people from all over the world coming to attractive destinations like Santorini and Mykonos, searching for different kinds of gastronomic experience. And as a businesses, some of them have, let's say, to prioritize what the visitors need, but some of them are having as objective to keep the authenticity of the local cuisine.
Thanks a lot for all your answers. On the Conservatoire du Littoral, we're owner of different natural coastal sites where we produce also some wine, some honey, etc., etc. And since many years, as we're also working in the Mediterranean, we have these sweet dreams to maybe one day have a kind of Mediterranean festival of gastronomy. So not only for Greece, but maybe extended at the whole Mediterranean. I think it should be very interesting to promote all our wonderful products on islands. And for sure, if we dream again to extend at international scale, it should be really interesting.
Actually, is one of our objectives as well. At the moment, we are working in order to, let's say, to promote overall the Aegean, the cuisine of the Aegean Sea, not only the Cyclades that belong to a region of the Aegean Sea, but the Aegean cuisine overall. And I hope someday to join our forces, all of us, to promote and to support the business for the Mediterranean Sea, and also to transfer the meaning of healthy food, of the authenticity of the food of the Mediterranean countries. This is a big dream, let's say. We can work of this and join our forces in the near future.
Thanks a lot. I have now some question for Joshua. Yeah, perfect. If you can turn on the camera. A question for Mr. Luc Zorilla. How do you find fundings for your activities? And maybe if you could better explain if the organizers of all the activities you have been presenting are here for a voluntary basis. Are the activities done with economic stakeholders also? Can you please get back to us about this issue?
Absolutely. So the exciting part is we started with volunteers, and I myself volunteered to create this program. And it was the first cohort that was brought together for Travel to Change, as well as with Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association. And then we also did it as an example of Hawaii Green Growth as well, of not only having a philosophy, but putting it into practice. So students in my class were the ones that we created it first. And that's how we're beginning. And as we're now growing, more hotels actually want to bring people to us. So we're making it that everything that is made goes directly to the people who participate. But our main focus is actually on knowledge and sharing genuine aspects of the host culture, and most importantly, a human rights-based approach, which of course does include economic, social, and cultural rights, and the right to well-being and a good livelihood. So we focus on all that, but it's a shift, because normally it's about tourism, but we focus on, it's really about serving the land. And it's also about really thinking about our role today, but for future generations. And we think the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the global goals, and the Paris Agreement is a great framework. And the truth is, no one knows that these international instruments exist. So then it also gets the relationship of one of reciprocal, where we respect each other, as opposed to the more parasitical model that exists. And I put my email in there, but I'm actually organizing a human rights conference nationally right now. So I've got to go, but it's an honor to be with everyone. And I woke up early so we could do it right before this. And I look forward to connecting with everyone later. Mahalo. Ahuiho.
Thanks a lot, Joshua. So I think we can close this second question and discussion time, and maybe move on to the third session. Jabal?
Sure. Thank you, Celine, and thank you, Joshua and Christina. All right, so our third session is about developing new products and activities. And our first presenter is actually the winner of Celebrate Islands this year in the 9th edition. His name is Saeed Larouz. He is a teacher, researcher, doctor in biodiversity and natural resources. He's the vice president of the research group for the protection of birds in Morocco. His organization is GLISPA BirdLife Morocco. And he, in order to conserve biodiversity, he's had to think outside the box. And I think this initiative that he's going to speak about is a great example of that, about creating a win-win for different actors in the space. But I don't want to preempt what he's going to say. So Saeed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Jabal. Hi, everybody. My name is Saeed Larouz. I am Vice President of GLISPA BirdLife. I am here to talk about our project called Sustainable Tourism around the Mogador East Island. I prefer to speak French for better express. Donc, avant de commencer, j'aimerais bien, au nom des adhérents du GLISPA, notre association, d'adresser ma gratitude à nos partenaires du PIM et du conservatoire et d'exprimer aussi mes remerciements pour cette généreuse invitation et aussi pour l'aide que vous avez présentée. Et j'espère que ce ne sera pas la dernière qu'on s'associe dans d'autres partenariats dans le futur. Notre association, c'est une association qui a plus de 25 ans, créée au Maroc par des chercheurs, qui a pour but de préserver les oiseaux de la disparition de la nature et aussi préserver leur habitat. Et donc, notre projet consiste à créer une activité d'écotourisme autour d'une île qui se trouve au Maroc. Donc, comme vous voyez dans l'écran, c'est l'archipel de Mogador. C'est un ensemble des îles qui se trouvent sur la façade atlantique du Maroc, en face de la ville d'Essaouira, très connue par son festival de musique de Gnawa au niveau mondial. Et cette île-là, elle est composée de 3 grandes îles. Vous voyez là la grande île qui s'appelle Mogador, la petite de 30 hectares, et à côté, il y a une île de Pharaon de 400 mètres carrés et quelques petites îles. Donc, cette île-là, elle est connue par une longue histoire qui remonte aux Mauritanie, des Romains, et donc qui ont laissé des monuments historiques sur l'île. Vous voyez là une vue aérienne et d'autres photos qui illustrent cette richesse de cette île. Mais aussi, il est connu par une diversité écosystémique très, très variée, par un cortège floristique riche et varié, composé d'espèces présentant des valeurs patrimoniales, des espèces que ce soit animales ou bien végétales. Et aussi, son importance aussi réside dans la présence d'un oiseau qui est là, le faucon d'Éléonore. Cette espèce est emblématique et il se trouve dans l'île avec un nombre qui dépasse 1500 couples. Et cet oiseau, cette population est la 12e plus grande population du monde. Et la 12e, c'est la première au niveau du Maghreb, des pays du Maghreb. Et donc, le justificatif de ce projet, ou bien la problématique, c'est que peu de touristes s'intéressent aux atouts naturels de la ville d'Essaouira. Et même les personnes qui sont averties se trouvent confrontées à l'interdiction de visiter cet archipel. Cette interdiction, elle est imposée par les services des eaux et forêts. Par ce projet, nous voulons tester un nouveau produit touristique basé sur la nature, en convertissant une embarcation de pêche en embarcation touristique qui permettra de transporter les touristes nationaux et internationaux pour réaliser des visites autour de l'archipel afin d'observer l'île avec ses monuments historiques et aussi avec son patrimoine naturel et notamment ce faucon d'Île Nord. Donc, pour réaliser le birdwatching. Grâce à cette mutation professionnelle, les pêcheurs seront en mesure d'exploiter une nouvelle activité génératrice de revenus visant à améliorer leur quotidien et celui de leur famille. Et donc, le coût de cette opération, il est autour de 4 000 € et qui va durer au moins 5 mois. L'objectif principal, c'est appuyer les pêcheurs locaux à développer un écotourisme durable, mais aussi en préservant les atouts touristiques des Sahara. Mettre aussi en perspective la volonté de participer au développement local, exiger la préservation des ressources naturelles et le maintien du capital environnemental, c'est-à-dire de créer une activité du tourisme, mais ce tourisme, il doit être durable et préserve les atouts biologiques et écologiques de cet archipel. Donc, les résultats attendus, premièrement, les pêcheurs seront informés sur l'importance de l'archipel de Mogador et de l'oiseau qui est le faucon d'Île Nord, et aussi sensibilisés à l'importance de la sauvegarde de l'espèce et de l'importance de son rôle dans l'écosystème. Les pêcheurs seront formés à l'identification du faucon d'Île Nord, puisqu'il devient un relais d'information, mais aussi de partenaires fiables. Aussi, un résultat attendu, c'est la réflexion sur la réalisation de cette activité énoncée et embarcation dédiée aux activités touristiques et choisies. Ça veut dire qu'on va choisir en premier lieu l'embarcation et par la suite, on va les sensibiliser à cette activité. Et de plus, cette embarcation elle sera réhabilitée et équipée pour transporter les touristes. Et de même, les opérateurs touristiques et les journalistes seront invités à une visite de découverte pour donner cette ampleur à ce projet. Et donc, quelles seront les difficultés et les impacts de ce projet? Pour les impacts, sans doute, il aura des impacts à l'échelle nationale et internationale. Et la reprise du secteur du tourisme, surtout le tourisme écotouristique durable, après l'arrêt de ces activités au niveau de la ville par le Covid. Et aussi, c'est changer cet aspect de tourisme culturel, un tourisme qui est naturel ou bien repose sur des atouts écologiques. Les difficultés qu'on prévoit à trouver, ce sont pour obtenir les autorisations, sachant que les pêcheurs disposent d'un permis réservé à la pêche et n'ont pas le droit d'utiliser leur embarcation pour un autre métier. Nous pouvons rencontrer des difficultés dans ce sens pour avoir les autorisations. Mais pour cela, pour remonter cette problématique, nous allons approcher les autorités compétentes en premier lieu, dès le début du processus, et pour qu'ils s'approprient cette initiative. Et puis aussi, on va impliquer une association locale pour faciliter la tâche, parce que si l'association locale cherche cette autorisation, je crois, ça sera plus facile. Qu'est-ce qu'on aura besoin comme aide? Peut-être pendant la durée du projet, on aura besoin d'un aide ou un support en matière de communication pour promouvoir cette initiative auprès des journalistes, auprès des promoteurs touristiques de la ville, ainsi de suite. À moyen et à long terme, en espérant avoir plus de subventions pour répliquer cette initiative à plusieurs pêcheurs. Et donc, comme conclusion, donc, ce projet, il a une vocation, nouvelle vision de changer tout ce qui est tourisme qui se base sur la culture, sur le tourisme des monuments, ainsi de suite, à un tourisme qui se base sur les atouts écotouristiques de cette île, ou bien de cet archipel. Et donc, nous espérons, par ce projet aussi, de sensibiliser les gens, les habitants de cette ville, les visiteurs, qui sont nombreux, de l'importance écotouristique de cet archipel, de l'importance des oiseaux qui hébergent cette île. Et bien sûr, cette sensibilisation doit avoir une grande ampleur. Elle va toucher que ce soit les acteurs du tourisme de la ville, que ce soit les visiteurs internationaux, que ce soit les écoles et les étudiants. Donc, je vous remercie pour cette invitation et je serai disponible bien sûr à vos questions. Merci.
Thank you, Saeed. That was great. Yes, and I'm sure there will be questions in the Q&A session to continue. But moving on, we have up next Ms. Noreen Mathlouthi. She hails from Tunisia and is a bioengineer with a master's degrees in biostatistics and data analysis. Her initiative is all about creating a circular economy around date palm-derived products and waste, and it's called Eco Palmier. And since 2019, she has been the project manager at the Youth and Science Kirkina, where she manages both the Eco Palmier project and the C2Med, a marine turtle conservation program in Tunisia. And in 2020, she became a member of the scientific board of the association, which allows her to be part of several steering committees for several sustainable projects. Noreen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation. I'm Noreen Mathlouthi and I'm a project manager at Youth and Science Kirkina. Today I'm going to present you our project, which is called Eco Palmier, and it's financed by the French Institute in Tunisia. So Eco Palmier is about creating a circular economy around date palm waste and also its derived products. Next, please. So to show you the importance of this initiative, I would like to show you also the problems that we are facing in Kirkina Archipelago. And one of them is the accumulation of date palm waste in different locations in Kirkina. And also we have a problem of losing the ancestral heritage among the young generation. Also, we detected a lack of job offers that are offered for young people in Kirkina. So we combined these three problems to develop this initiative. And basically, Eco Palmier is a long-term training and coaching for young people in Kirkina to develop technical competence in composting and in local handcraft. It's not only about developing technical competence, but also it's about using them to develop their project idea and launching their startup. So here we are talking about a circular economy because these projects launched by our beneficiaries are going to be related and based on social entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. And now, thanks to Eco Palmier, we were able to influence 13 young people in Kirkina about the importance of social entrepreneurship and also how to be eco-responsible and how much it's important for the archipelago. And also we were able to train 10 young people during the ideation process and the launching process of their project, and also other goals that you can see on the screen. During this process, it wouldn't be possible to achieve these goals without also the perseverance of our beneficiary and the fact that they were focused on their goal to achieve it. And also the support of our partners. I may mention Smile Loop. It helped us a lot during the prospecting phase because it helped us collect a lot of information about 2 islands in the Smilo network to elaborate a better strategy for our beneficiaries. Next slide, please. Thank you. Ecopalmier, it's not only about current goals, it has also future impact. And the main long-term impacts of Ecopalmier are to ensure the transmission of ancestral heritage of Kirkena Archipelago from older generation to younger generation. And it's about promoting ancestral and artisanal products as an eco-responsible alternative for plastic products. And thanks to composting, also we are offering a new biological alternative for agriculture in Kirkena. Now, as a team that is coordinating Ecopalmier, we are working to create more opportunities for our beneficiaries to reach a bigger market, and why not a multinational market. So this is it, to leave you with some advices. If you are interested in replicating this initiative, you can also contact me after. And one, you need to make sure that your target is really interested in becoming a project owner. So before ideating a project like this, you need to make sure that your target is interested. So here we have young people. We made sure first that they are interested. Second thing, make sure that your trainings are successful and interesting for your beneficiaries, to make sure that they will attend the next and the next training until the end of the program. So to do that, prospect your territory and identify your potential trainers first. And this is it. Thank you for your attention, and I will give back the floor to Jabba.
Thank you, Noreen, and thanks for the great advice. I'm sure we'll want to follow up more on your pointers in the Q&A session, especially. But we finally have our final speaker of the event. Last but not least, certainly not least, Miss Bonnie Lutus. I think it's really good to close off with Bonnie, because her presentation is focusing on capacity building, and I think it's something that's really important for islands, especially small islands, where capacity building is a great issue. And Bonnie helps islands around the world become self-sufficient and resilient against climate change. As you know, islands are on the front line of climate change. She specializes on innovative energy, waste, food, water, and conservation solutions. Through her company, Turtle, Bonnie works with the government of Friesland on the EU Interreg Islands of Innovation project, and is managing the Islands of Innovation Virtual Academy project, funded by the Interreg EU. The Islands of Innovation project develops guidelines on how to develop local and regional innovation policies involving several types of stakeholders, including economic actors, and presents some good practices and examples from islands from several countries. And this is exactly what you need to do the types of initiatives and interventions that we've heard all session. We need that type of training. So I'm glad Bonnie is here to speak to that. Bonnie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, great. Okay, yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation and for inviting me to speak here. So I will talk to you today a little bit about the Islands of Innovation project, which has been running for 4 years, and it will actually be finished in September. And hopefully we will leave something that other islands anywhere in the world can use based on what we've developed. So the Islands of Innovation project works to solve local challenges on island by increasing innovation. And by innovation, I don't necessarily mean technical innovation. It can be any type of innovation, from low tech to high tech. It can be a completely new solution that's never existed before, or it can be a solution that is beneficial in other places around the world, whether island or not, but applied in a new context or with new stakeholders. So the definition of innovation isn't solely tech. It can be working with new sectors. It can be integrating the youth. Yeah. So the Islands of Innovation project involves a collaboration between 6 EU island regions. which are Friesland, that's in the Netherlands, the north of the Netherlands, the Azores and Madeira, those are both Portuguese, Samso in Denmark, Saaremaa in Estonian, and the North Aegean Islands in Greece. I apologize for the spelling mistake in Aegean. I was so focused on spelling Saaremaa correctly that I forgot to look at Aegean, but there is another E supposed to be there. So our project focuses on community-led policy change, which means we try to harness or harvest the insights from the community and then feed those to the government so that they can actually integrate what the community wants into the policy. And we do this by harvesting local ideas for new projects, products, and services, all aligned with the SDGs and trying to drive a positive change on islands. Next slide, please. So through the project, over the first 3 years of the project, we developed a tool for co-creation workshops in order to facilitate inclusive and effective engagement of the diverse interests of stakeholders. That usually starts with a workshop or a working group, starting with a question or a challenge. So let's say you want to increase sustainable tourism on the island, that could be a challenge, or you want to develop a new living lab on the island in collaboration with a university or other institutional partners, that could be a challenge. So there's always these kind of overarching challenges. And then based on a series of questions and discussions, there's kind of a process to, to basically get the insights from the stakeholders and organize them into new ideas for projects and products. So what we developed was a step-by-step playbook that trains hosts to host their own workshops on their own islands. So we started the project by people from our group, experts from our group would go to islands and host these workshops and then work with the local governments to get the learnings into the government. However, we, at the end of the day, wanted that the islands can host these workshops themselves. So we kind of developed a book and a roadmap to show them how to do that or to enable them to do that. And we then realized, if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, we then realized that a lot of people didn't want to actually learn from this guidebook that we developed. So we decided it would be maybe more beneficial to make a video series, so kind of like a masterclass. So we've been working for the past 5 or 6 months on turning the book, so it's kind of a train the trainer guide, into masterclasses so that interested stakeholders on islands, usually it's a consultant or someone from the government or just a community member who wants to increase innovation and sustainability on their island, would follow the masterclass and through this invite a group of stakeholders to a workshop, host the workshop, harness the results, and then create an action plan for the island to go from where the island is now to where they want to be, and also to end up basically with a list of potential projects and products that could increase innovation on the island. So we're piloting this with the Azores. So we're in the process of training 3 coaches via the Digital Academy. They've hosted already 1, and I maybe even hosting another one today. So within the next week or so, there will be 2 more events hosted by the innovation coaches that were trained through the masterclass. And all of these islands will collect best practice case examples from different projects and innovative examples that are happening on the islands. And then we're going to collect this into a community of practice and launch the project actually at the Virtual Island Summit coming up in September. And then at that point, we will invite islands around the world to also join in, take the masterclass. It's all open source and free for everyone. And then hopefully from those different events that will start to happen on islands, we will further develop the best practice database so that islands can then see what other islands are working on and if they maybe have solutions to collaborate on common challenges. So yeah, that is my presentation for today. And thank you so much. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Bonnie. And I love especially the constant reevaluation and making sure you're keeping your beneficiaries front and center in terms of how, because they are the end of the day, the most important stakeholder in this. And that pivot to the masterclass was genius. And I wish you all the best in its success. Celine, we can move on to the Q&A session now. So you're up.
Yes, thank you. I don't see a lot of questions in the chat, so don't hesitate to ask them. But even though I still have some questions to Said first. Said, if it's okay for you with the translation, I quite well know the example of Essaouira. I've been there a few years before. So why was it born, this idea to create a new activity or touristic development of the island? Because today, finally, the island don't have a lot of touristic pressure and is well preserved because nobody can go there. And so why developing, you think there is a key interest to develop this new activity? You can answer in French and for sure, with the translation, it's okay.
Merci Céline. J'aimerais bien vous revoir une autre fois au Maroc. Soyez les bienvenus. En ce qui concerne cette initiative, au Maroc, peu de gens s'intéressent et connaissent le peuplement ornithologique, les oiseaux. Et donc, nous, on travaille pour sensibiliser les gens, pour les faire connaître ce patrimoine naturel. Et puisque l'île, elle contient beaucoup d'espèces d'oiseaux, à savoir les faucons d'Iliona, il y a aussi d'autres espèces d'oiseaux qui colonisent cette île. Et donc, on a pensé, pourquoi pas, les gens ne connaissent pas cette richesse nationale. Bien sûr, cette approche ne va pas déranger les oiseaux de l'île, puisque l'embarcation, il va prendre les touristes et va faire une tournée autour de l'île, sans pénétrer, sans marcher dans l'île, parce que l'île, il est préservé pour préserver cet oiseau de faucon d'Iliona, ça veut dire qu'il niche avec une grande nombre. On suit cette population depuis 10 années, et donc la population s'améliore et les oiseaux, ils sont bien installés, donc on ne veut pas déranger les oiseaux, mais en même temps, on veut que les gens connaissent cette espèce pour la protéger mieux, puisque cette espèce, elle quitte l'île, il va s'approvisionner dans les alentours de la ville d'Essaouira. Et donc, nous, on pense à encourager le touriste de loin, sans déranger les oiseaux. Donc, ça sera que bénéfique. Ça sera que bénéfique.
Oui, donc pour vous, c'est vraiment une alternative par rapport à des projets qui pourraient être de plus grande ampleur sur l'île.
Oui, exactement. La ville d'Essaouira, c'est une ville touristique très, très connue par les étrangers et elle est très, très bien fréquentée. Et nous voulons sauter sur l'occasion pour faire connaître cette espèce pour le monde entier, cette espèce emblématique, et d'encourager un tourisme écotouristique, un tourisme qui va profiter de voir cette espèce au moins de loin. Et cette bien sûr connaissance, il ne va que protéger cette espèce.
Et donc, il va y avoir ce projet expérimental fait avec un pêcheur, mais est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, il y a plusieurs pêcheurs qui ont entendu parler de l'initiative et qui seraient intéressés pour être partie prenante et pousseurs de la démarche auprès des autorités? Ah, Saïd, I think we lost you. Saïd, do you hear me? I think we have a problem of connection. Maybe I will switch to Nuren. If Said come back, I will ask the question again. Nuren, I had a question for you regarding this new activity.
Oui,
pardon.
Vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez?
Oui, c'est tout bon, c'est revenu. Oui, oui.
Vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez?
Oui, c'est bon.
Bien. Donc, votre question était qu'est-ce qu'on a fait jusqu'à maintenant? Bon, ou bien les points positifs de ce projet, c'est que nous travaillons depuis toujours, depuis longtemps, avec les autorités compétentes, qui sont l'Agence nationale des eaux et forêts, dans cette île, et aussi avec le conservatoire et l'UPIM. Et donc, cet rapprochement entre les autorités va nous faciliter la tâche pour avoir les autorisations. Et aussi, on va rapprocher deux choses. Premièrement, une association locale. On va chercher une association locale pour faciliter cette recherche des autorisations. Et puis, bien sûr, on va chercher auprès des pêcheurs les gens qui sont compétentes et les gens qui veulent, bien sûr, participer à cette action, en premier lieu. Et si on réussit ce projet, bien sûr, on va le répliquer à d'autres pêcheurs. Nous avons déjà une expérience au nord du Maroc. Nous avons déjà équipé des embarcations pour encourager l'écotourisme de ce genre, pour apaiser la surpêche. Et donc, on va faire, je crois, la même chose pour cette île de Mogador.
Merci beaucoup, Saïd.
Merci, Madame Céline.
I'm going to ask a question now to Nuren. Nuren, regarding your initiative, was it at the beginning a request from the young people of Kerkena to develop and think about this activity of recycling the palm leaves?
In fact, it comes from different necessities. Some of them are actually interested in this ancestral technique. So they wanted to develop it and to become a source of revenue for them. And also some others weren't very interested, but then when they had this opportunity, they didn't lose it, and they took profit from it. This is it.
Thank you. And another question, maybe. The island of Kerkena is very big because it's nearby 150 square kilometers. So there is a lot of palm trees of the island. But do you think that if you, at the same time, developing a new activity with young people, with a resource which is finally already used also by the oldest one, do you think at one moment there will be a problem in terms of balance about the number of palm trees available and the request to develop all the different handicrafts?
Regarding the palm, the resource of the palm. No, in fact, because they are using the derived products that are naturally dead from the palm. They are not taking live like products from the palm date to from the date palm. So they are only using dead products. So it's not, at the contrary, we have an accumulation of this waste that must be used to also protect the date palm, because if you leave the date palm with that dead leaves and etc., it affects her negatively. So actually valorizing this waste and derived products, it's helpful for the date palm.
Thanks a lot, Nuren. And maybe my last question for you is about the fact how the old people looking after the young people, which is finally going on their backyard, how we say. So are they very interested for this people for transferring all the know-how for the handicrafts conception, or maybe are they looking at them with a weird look?
On the contrary, they are very interested, because also the young generation is apporting with them the new technology and how the new ways of selling, which the old generation doesn't have. So they kind of, with some time, they took some time, but they started to understand also that they will profit from it, like because there are new technologies that help marketing and selling their products. And also sometimes we find like older generation that works alone. So working alone is not enough to provide all the products, the necessary products to for the market. So having help from the younger generation, it's for them a good thing.
Thank you very much, Noreen. And I have now the last question for Bonnie regarding the project of Island Innovation. One question for the participants in the room is, how is the program run by Island of Innovation? How does it work regarding the fundings?
Yeah, so the program was funded by Interreg EU. So how that works is, well, it depends on the specific EU call, the specific Interreg call, but it's essentially a fund, and island governments and private organizations can form a coalition and then apply for the funding, and you go through a application process. So we did that together with all the partners involved. The government of Friesland is the lead partner, so they were mainly responsible for writing and editing the application with input from all the other partners. And that can be a bit tricky. So my advice, if you're looking to apply for calls like Interreg or Horizon or any of these big funds, would be to actually invest or get advice from people who are specialized in applying for those calls, or look to partner with an organization that has previously been accepted for such funding projects, because it's quite often the case that the more successful projects you've run that have been financed by these types of funds, the more likely you are to be accepted for future projects, because they know that you've completed one in the past. So if you're looking for that type of money, yeah, either work with people who are experienced in that type of application or join another coalition.
Thanks a lot. And I have a question for you, which is, okay, it's a collaboration between European Islands. I think you succeed in identifying some good practices and some solutions concrete to reduce impact on economic activities. And do you have some concrete example which could be inspiring for other places of the world, like Mediterranean region or Asia Pacific?
Yeah, of course. So you mean specific examples with projects, or?
Yeah, project or concrete solution, like for example, reducing plastic use or something like that.
Yeah, so one of the topics that I've noticed that has come up over and over again in these workshops is, for example, how to keep youth on the island. So many times, many islands struggle with their youth leaving the island because there isn't enough jobs or aren't enough interesting jobs. So one of the things you could do, for example, is have a workshop on or a co-creation session on a challenge like that, and then you basically brainstorm with the different stakeholders on what to do. And we've seen, for example, in the Azores a couple of years back, they had an initiative called Terceira Tech Island, where the government, because of listening to stakeholders, the government was encouraged to help finance tech startups in a certain community. So they kind of made like a little hub for tech startups, and they financed youth, especially women, actually women and men, but especially focusing on women, to train them to be coders. So they could work anywhere in the world from the island via high-speed internet, and they kind of finance these boot camps for tech coders, for example, to help stimulate a new industry on the island. So that's one example, but you could also focus on nature conservation or sustainable tourism or waste management, so any challenge. And then the idea is to basically just get a long list of any ideas for projects and then kind of explore how realistic they are and who would be needed in order to complete them, and then narrow them down to ideas you could start with now, ideas you could work on in 3 years, and ideas for the future.
Thanks a lot, Bonnie. It's all for me regarding the questions in the chat box. So maybe, Jabal, we can go now to the conclusion.
Yes, sounds good. So some conclusions we gathered after collecting the presentations and seeing the projects was that there are a lot of initiatives focusing on tourism, and hopefully in future sessions we could develop and showcase initiatives focusing on agriculture or fishing activities or other industries. And another big conclusion was that there is a need to work with more economic actors. And our final thought we want to throw out there to the speakers and audience are because this is what the Bright Spot series is all about, how do we replicate and scale? What are the main obstacles, and what advice would you give to bring about successful, sustainable projects? And I want to throw this out to the panelists of some closing remarks that you may want to focus on just around that general theme. I think we can start with, who is still with us? We can start with Imam. Imam, are you still there? Moving on to Christina, do you have any closing remarks? Okay.
I don't hear you, Christina.
We'll try.
Yes.
Sorry. We were trying to unmute. Thank you very much. The question has to do what the main obstacle and the one advice that we will give for a successful work with economic actors.
Yes.
Okay. You know, it's very important before you start a project or an initiative to define your targets and then your strategy to achieve your targets, because it seems that sometimes we have objectives and we think that the objectives is a strategy, which is not the case. You need to define your objectives, your strategy, your strategic actions, and then to allocate your budget. We here work with a business plan, and we try, let's say, to follow this kind of structure in order to succeed in our project. Additionally, after we define our targets and strategy, and we, let's say, proceed with the budget allocation, the next steps is to seek for funding. Trying, let's say, to have a budget or to initiate ways for budget through European funds and European programs that are related to the subject of the program.
Okay, thank you. Bonnie, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the first thing I would say is that in my experience when talking to islands, actually a lot of the ideas and the solutions exist already on the island, and it can be that different actors are working on a solution to the same challenge on the same island, even sometimes on a very small island, and they actually don't know about each other. So I would say start with looking who's working on a solution on the island. Maybe there's multiple people working on the solution or similar on the island. And then has anybody outside the island tackled a similar challenge? And then once you've gone through that, look at what are the barriers, why this might not be working. So maybe there's economic barriers, institutional barriers, maybe there's not enough people to help support. So look at that and try to sift through those. And then I guess finally, try to get a kind of like a coalition of people who are willing and able to work on the solution together. So I mean, you can have really, really fantastic ideas, and if there's nobody who's able to support it or nobody who's able to carry it through, it won't go far. And there, you could also have a case where there's people who are able to, but they're busy and they're not willing. So I would say, yeah, try to look at those different factors.
Okay, so step one, a robust situation analysis, and step two, as Christine said, a good business plan. Noreen, do you have any thoughts you want to add?
I think it's basically just make sure that, as I said before, make sure that your target is interested in what you are doing, and that your trainings will meet their needs. So make sure to understand their problems, what they are facing, what are the information that they need during this process of coaching, so that you really touch a problem that is concrete, and you make sure that you are solving it and not just giving information that won't be valorized by the beneficiary and the present and the people that are present in your program. And
Thank you, Noreen. Well, added to that, I had a question, and I know it'll be different in different island contexts, but what specific tools or techniques do you use to make that outreach and ensure you're getting that feedback from the youth on their priorities? What do you do specifically for outreach?
in fact, for Ecopanier, before launching and this program of training and coaching, we did a prospecting phase where we did like a survey. We asked what they are facing, what they want, what are their goals, and etc. What are the information that they really need to achieve their goal. For example, some of them said that I have no idea about e-marketing, and it's very necessary for them to sell their products. So we added that in the program, and like it was a process about asking and then collecting the information before launching the program. So when we launched, we already knew what the actual situation was.
Okay, I think and that lines up exactly with what Bonnie was speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
And finally, our last panelist who's with us, Sai, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Bien sûr, j'étais très, très heureux d'entendre premièrement les projets des autres et aussi de partager mes idées avec eux. Je voudrais remercier tous les gens qui nous ont aidés par ce petit fonds, surtout le conservatoire et le PIM. Et sans doute, on va travailler cette île, on va faire mieux connaître les oiseaux de cette île aux visiteurs, aux touristes, et on va aussi, par ce petit fonds, aider à créer un revenu un peu différent pour les pêcheurs. Donc, j'aimerais bien vous remercier tous. Je vous remercie, Monsieur Amadi. Je vous remercie, Madame l'interprétatrice, qui a pris un effort pour interpréter du français en anglais et vice-versa. Je vous remercie vous tous et bonne journée.
Thank you, Sai. That I can say it better than myself. And yeah, so I think that leads in perfectly to our wrap up. I want to thank everyone who joined and stayed with us for the entire program. This has been amazing. Our next episode done and many more to come. We will be sharing the presentations to those who participated. And look out for in your emails. We will notify you when our next event will be. I want to shout out our co-organizers in this, Jeff Small Grants Program, Conservatoire de Littoral, Island Coast Ocean Solutions, many co-organizers who helped bring some of these initiatives to our knowledge: the World Network of Island and Coastal Biosphere Reserves, Island Innovation, Hawaii Institute for Human Rights, Celebrate Islands, European Network of Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. You all were amazing. Thank you for sharing. I think it was well received. Before you go, panelists, we would like to do a group picture. And thank you everyone for joining, and that's our show. Celine, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think it's a perfect conclusion, and I think yes, one of the key conclusions is that we still need to continue to exchange, to learn from each other, from one region of the globe to another, because the islands are sharing just the same issues, the same topics. And I think from the small, the medium, or the big initiative, we still have everyone to learn from each other. So let's continue from all the different workshops that we are all organizing from the GLISPA Bright Spots to learn more about what is going on our islands.
Yes, very well said. Could all our panelists who are still with us, can you please put on your camera? And so then you can stop sharing your screen and we can do the group photo. Oh, thank you to our interpreters as well. I forgot to mention, you're amazing. Thanks a lot.
And for all the participants who ask the question in the chat, and maybe hoping that it will inspire you for the future too.
Who is doing the group picture? Is that you, Cyrielle, or Paula?
I will attempt to take a photo. To everyone, I'm not sure if I'm getting it, but one more time.
Everyone say islands.
Last one. Okay, it works.
Thank you. And thank you, panelists. That was great. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a
Have a
good
nice
day.
day. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.